Artificial intelligence is making its way into everyday life, whether it's you looking for quick answers from bots like ChatGPT or computer models trying to predict the Lions game results so you can have interesting conversations with maybe some fans that are Packer faithful or Viking faithful in the weeks to come, or even those scammers trying to weasel their way into your personal information. With new technology, that means you need new learning strategies to keep your personal information safe. Here with more insight on this is West Bloomfield Police Detective Phil Pacheco. Detective Pacheco, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, good morning.
Glad to have you on to talk about this. Good morning to you as well. It's an important topic, certainly on the minds of a lot of people in our community as AI becomes more ubiquitous from a technological standpoint with everyday people in our community. It also becomes even more advanced with scammers. At this time, what are some of the key points people need to be looking out for? What are some of the ways that scammers are using AI to target everyday people here in Greater West Bloomfield and beyond?
What we've seen recently over the past couple of years is that, really the most vulnerable people in our community, which those are, the elderly. We do have a large elderly population. They can be very easily fooled by this. So one thing that we're seeing that's being used by criminals to, scam the elderly or trick them is they'll receive a phone call and they are so adamant that this sounded just like my grandson, my son, my daughter, whoever. This sounded just like them, and they needed help. They needed money. I needed to bond them out of jail. And we've had our residents here lose close to $100,000 and everything in between because they do fall victim to this.
And so what are some of those key ways that people can tell the difference between this is really my son, my daughter, my grandchild, a close friend, whomever it may be in their life, versus someone using technology to spoof a very similar way of speaking?
Well, I think it starts with, if you do have a elderly family member, it just starts with education. And I think the easiest thing that you can do and implement is some kind of like safe word, like a code word. But first educating them on like this extremely urgent phone call that they may get when, hey, I need money right now, this needs to happen. Being able to recognize that is step one, like that's a little off. And then step two would be, okay, what is the code word for this? And it could be anything unique to your family. And, obviously if it is your family, they're going to know that code word. If it's not, then you know that you're, likely being attempted to be victimized at that time.
And these are scams that are just starting to be more on the rise, more commonplace across many communities. They target people that are typically in elder populations, may not be as technologically savvy, and may not have the media literacy that others in younger populations have. But that doesn't mean that people in younger demographics aren't also susceptible to this. Detective Pacheco, usually that manifests itself in the way of misinformation or disinformation, especially on social media. What are some of the common ways that is manifested nowadays?
With the ability to take somebody's face, like we all love posting pictures of our family, our children, things that we do that we share with, the people that we know and love on social media. But, the technology exists to take that person's face and, use it in a criminal way. It could be for extortion. It could be for very other, horrible activities, especially when it comes to a minor or a child. So you just need to be careful what you're putting out there. And I think educating yourself on what somebody can do, with your face, with your voice, things like that is step one for every family. You need to talk about this as a family because it is real and it is happening.
And it goes back to some of those privacy settings that you really want to be mindful of. Who you're also bringing into some of these social media can also play a big impact in that. Do you know this person? Do they look familiar to you? If not, probably shouldn't have access to your information, especially now with the advent of AI, and it's certainly going to get a lot more advanced as time goes on. Detective Phil Pacheco is with us from the West Bloomfield Police Department. More helpful advice and safety information from our local PD can be found on Facebook at West Bloomfield PD. Detective Pacheco, from the law enforcement standpoint, what new maybe training methods are being brought in or may be employed soon for our local departments like yours to help also counteract some of these negative effects that AI may be having on communities like West Bloomfield?
It's funny, I was just looking at that today, like, hey, what's available? Companies are putting this training out for law enforcement. Really, what I found was how law enforcement can use AI to, for administrative purposes or even down to report writing to make the job easier, which, agree with it or not, it's there, it's happening. I think that, I guess to answer your question, I'm not really aware of any training that exists right now or that I've seen recently that would, give us some kind of investigative tools to investigate this better. I think that we here at this police department and the investigators that we have here in the detective bureau, we're all pretty aware of how this stuff works. We're younger, we grew up with this, we know kind of what the future holds for AI. And so I'm going to keep an eye out, but yeah, I don't know of anything right now.
Yeah, still early on with this becoming more easily accessible for people across all different sectors, whether it be businesses, whether it be everyday citizens like you and I, or it be these scammers that tend to be a little bit more on the cutting edge of these technologies and figure out how to do some of these scams early on before law enforcement and everybody else catches up to them, and then it all evens out relatively quickly. Detective Pacheco, with all of that being said, if someone does believe that they've taken your advice from today or other advice that they found about counteracting some of these scams that may arise or misinformation campaigns that may arise with the advent of more advanced AI, should they believe that they've fallen victim to that or they've been targeted by AI, what steps can they take with their local police department to report that and maybe begin some sort of investigation into who may be behind it?
A lot of times with these cases, time is of the essence. You have to report it immediately. A lot of people, start off with like, I'm really sorry to bother you with this, this has happened to me. But at the end of the day, we're here to serve the public. If it's important to you, it's important to us. And we want to help you. That's why we exist. And you need to report, anything to us right away. If you think you're being victimized or anything like that, please do it right away. Because in a lot of these situations, especially as it pertains to money and the different forms that we've seen people here in West Bloomfield send that money, time is of the essence. You need to report it to us right away so that we can start the investigation and hopefully maybe seize the funds and try to get those back to you to make you whole as part of the investigation. Certainly, we don't exist just to recover your money. At the end of the day, we'd like to get somebody criminally charged for what they've done to you. But again, report it to us right away. If your family member is elderly, it's awesome if you can bring them in and help explain kind of what happened so that we can get on it right away.
More information on West Bloomfield PD on Facebook. You can also go to wbtownship.org and contact the police department by their non-emergency number if you need additional advice on this or other matters that may affect you here in the greater West Bloomfield area. Detective Pacheco, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.